disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.
Welcome once again to another episode of Fists, Kicks, and Flixx. This is Joe Hartley, and I have Angel Diaz with me. And Gene is out there somewhere in internet land messing with stuff, so he'll be here when he gets here. If this is your first time with us, we're a part of the Martial Arts Center Network, main gang, and that's all you get today. You know what? I'm not feeling that whole long spiel, so you know the rest of our shows. It is what it is. We're doing Bloodsport today. We're doing kind of a recap since we were not here for episode 3 and 4 with Mike and Gene. And I'm really excited about it because I think they did it a little dirty in my opinion. So Angel and I are going to give you the real lowdown on Bloodsport. And we might have a special guest. Who knows? You never know.
Yes. So
Angel,
I feel like today,
how's your week?
My week is going good, man. Week is not going bad, bro. It's pretty chill. You know, this is the week before we start doing our like school stuff. You know, everyone goes on break and all that. So I'm just relaxing, taking it day by day. How about you?
Man, I'm working 7 days, and the wife and kids are about to be home next week. So it's lovely, and everybody over here is getting sick. My son had the flu. Now my middle one had it. Now my oldest one has it. So I'm just trying to stay healthy, man.
No, I got you. I know exactly what you mean. Keep them away from you. Get the Lysol.
Like my work is cool because most people we wear masks and we kind of work in our own individual areas. But my wife, she's a teacher just like you, man, and she's an art teacher, so she sees all 600 students every day. So I mean, for her, it's hard even wearing a mask and everything because she's handling art projects, she's talking to kids, probably wiping noses and stuff. So who knows, man. It's a mess. So, but I will say this: I don't know if you had this happen in your family, but my family gets sick right before Christmas every year. Sometimes right on Christmas. So we're just hoping to avoid that because this, we want to see all our family.
No, knock on wood. I haven't had that happen. So luckily,
yes.
So for today, we actually got a special guest. He can get brought on. It's gonna be real cool. So we got my brother on here.
Oh, you both got the shirts on. I like it.
Yes, sir. There we go.
Well, Sam, welcome to the show. It's nice to meet you, bro. I've seen you online. Angel talks about you all the time. So welcome to the show.
No, thank you for having me. This is exciting. When he sent me a text earlier today, like, you busy later? I was like, I'm teaching at the dojo. That's it. He's like, you want to do a show? I was like, sure. What on? When he said Bloodsport, like the rest of the day, I was just super excited.
Fantastic. That's why. Was it who suggested that we kind of go back and do a couple of?
Well, you really suggested it first, and then we got kind of lost in like doing the whole samurai stuff. So that's when for this one, I was like, we should just do Bloodsport again.
I don't know if I can take full credit because I think Jeff Doss might have put something in the comments somewhere down the road.
Whatever,
I might be wrong, but I might have read it somewhere that somebody was looking for us. I know you don't. That's your boy. Y'all got your own little rivalry going on, whatever. But I think this is a good one to start because I have brought it up a few times that in my opinion, Mike and Gene hated on this movie a little more than I thought they should.
Listen, they hated on this one. They hated on The Last Dragon. They hated on Kickboxer. It was all the movies that like my brother had me watch since I was like a little kid. So it's just crazy that like they just don't like them.
Last Dragon, it's funny. I make jokes with my black belts at the school that I'm like, when they're ready to test for black belt, I go, have you watched The Last Dragon? Some of them are like, what's that? I was like, you won't even get an invitation to test if you haven't watched The Last Dragon.
That's great. I love it. And I did go back and listen to the review. Now they did give it a good grade, but I think that Mike and Gene's problem at the beginning when they started this, because it was all kind of new and it kind of had to build up.
Yeah.
I think they kind of overanalyze things too much, and they did realize that, like episode maybe 10, 11, even they realized, even instead of breaking the show into two parts and breaking movies into two parts, bringing it to one 1 hour show on the full movie ended up being better. So I think it's better to look forward and say, now that we have a good system that works and we don't have to break down every aspect of a movie in 2 days, that we can get a better review of what we think of these movies. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
I
saying?
definitely no, I definitely agree with you. And plus, also, I mean, I think they were just overcritical because they don't like Gene has a problem, which is drives me nuts that he has a problem with anything that's like 80s, 90s montage type karate movies, but he loves like that 1970s kung fu movie you guys try to make me watch that I couldn't dare stand. And he was like, "This was a good movie," and I'm like, "All right, man, like." Anytime I say hi, you're gonna say low. Like it does not matter what it is. So I just that doesn't surprise me.
But it makes, if you have a bunch of yes men on a show, or a bunch of people who like everything and don't like everything, or the opposite, you have a bunch of people who like nothing and don't like anything. So I think it works well when you have a couple who have their own opinions about this and another one and then you can really get into the nitty gritty of, what's really going on with the movies and have a good discussion. And in our case, it's sometimes a real good debate.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, Gene comes out with just Gene just be coming up with the most craziest, outlandish things I've ever heard. I just let him. Oh man.
It looks like Gene's not going to be able to join us, so
Yep.
it's the three of us today, which is okay. I mean, we'll make it work, but you got three people who love this movie,
Right?
so I mean, there's going to be no real big. I'll try to be
Well, I can
partial,
tell
but
you
that's
what.
all I can do.
I'll be impartial because there are some stuff that like I look at now and I'm like, man, like you do this now, like you're getting like thrown in jail. Like there's some stuff that just doesn't even make any sense. But I got you. Like we'll try to be as impartial as we can. You want to start it out, Joe, and then we'll just follow you.
Yeah, so first off, we're doing Bloodsport, the Jean-Claude Van Damme late '80s movie. This was before or after Kickboxer?
Before Kickboxer.
Before
Okay, okay. So, and this is kind of where he really got his big break, right? Because
Break. Yeah.
I mean, he did a few things here and there, but mostly like almost like a cameo, more or less, like where he
Yeah,
was a bad guy or something like
yeah,
that.
he had No Retreat, No Surrender, where he played like the Russian dude. That was like his real breakout. But then he had another movie, Breaking or something like that, where he had like a cameo as like a background person for like background dancing or whatever. But he never had like that starring role.
Background dancing, that's interesting.
I mean, listen, we see how it worked out at Kickboxer. It worked out pretty good for him.
Yeah. So the movie starts out. We're seeing like a stage and a group kind of putting things together for what looks to be like some kind of competition or a tournament. And then we also see some competitors working out. You got a guy. We don't know all their names yet, but we do know because we've seen the movie so many times. You got Jackson. He's kind of boxing. He's like a Harley dude who's kind of drinking a
Yep.
beer in one hand and leather
Just
jacket. Just doesn't give a crap about anything.
Yeah.
We got
I'm not gonna
sumo
lie to you,
wrestler.
Joe. I'm gonna be real, Joe. I don't know why, but I got you vibes off of when I saw him. Like the beard gave me like Joe vibes. Like he was in there.
Joe, a Harley headband and a black t-shirt with cut off
Yeah.
sleeves.
Now see, I had a Harley headband that I used to wear under my headgear.
Perfect.
Under your
Long
headgear.
Yeah, under my headgear, because I try and get some of that less sweat. So I
Yeah.
did have one for a while. So that's kind of funny. But I didn't have a beard when I was competing at the time. I had maybe a little bit of a goatee. That's about it. But his attitude more gave me Mike Gibbs vibes.
Yes. If Mike Gibbs took G Money's attitude and your looks put them together, that's who Jax was.
So we're seeing all these competitors, and the one thing that Gene was talking about, and I 100% agree with him, is you got a guy out in the jungle chopping coconuts.
Coconuts. You listen, it was him, and I don't know who the other guy's name because I don't think they gave him a name in the fight. But the one that was doing his fight around like a circle of fire, it was just like it looked like the survivor of like
Yeah.
the underground fighting. Yeah, I know.
But the funny thing is, G made a comment like, nowadays at the time that they did this, it was 2020, but now it's we're getting ready to get into 2023. Yeah, you get canceled for putting a brother on a tree chopping coconuts. So I'm gonna since Gene's not here to say it again, I'm gonna say he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Now and he was doing like a monkey style when he gets into.
It looked like it was. Yeah, but now you're saying, "Damn, Joe, you were just hit. You're hitting this. This HR is gonna fire your ass."
Like
God
I
damn
didn't say he acted like one. I said it was the style that he was choosing to emulate.
Oh my God! Oh,
I think this movie definitely they would be questioned for giving people particular styles. I agree. Somebody would.
Now I'm going to tell you something real quick. So, did you ever go to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic in Columbus?
No, but I want to go for either next year or the year after, definitely.
So I went 2 times in like 2014, 15, somewhere around there. And the first time I ever went to that tournament, it was really one of the tournaments I ever seen. And a lot of people from other countries were coming there. And one of my friends who was fighting, he got ready to fight this guy, and the guy dropped down to the ground and before the fight and was doing this type of style, like running around on the ground on all fours.
That's crazy.
It was crazy because it threw my buddy off. He actually called a timeout and came over to my friend who was coaching him, and he said, "What should I do?" And my friend said, "Drop an axe kick on him." And he did.
What tournament was he competing in? Because I know Arnold, they have like traditional kumite, they have like a point fighting kind of thing. Then they'll do some kickboxing.
I'm pretty sure because we were point fighting, so it was probably point sparring.
Cool.
But it was interesting. I just never seen the guy and then after he got axe kicked, he stood back up.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't know what he was gonna do because like you can sweep the leg, but you can't take someone down with the sweep.
Yeah, there's like no grappling. So
yeah, there was. I don't know what else. I mean, I don't know what he was trying to do, but it was interesting. So anyhow, after this training montage, and we see this tournament being put together, we see a gentleman. He's on an Air Force or an Army base, and he's Captain Frank Dukes. So he's going to be Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he's the main character of our story. And he wants to go compete at this tournament during his furlough from the Army. And the higher ups are concerned. So they want to talk to him. He knows basically that means like they're going to try and stop him. So he gives this detail who was put on him to bring him in the slip. He disappears from the showers.
Yeah.
You guys got anything right now?
I mean,
I don't know. Go ahead, Sam.
I'll say I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, when I used, growing up watching this movie when I'm like 5 years old, I'm like, wow, that's cool how he just disappeared from the showers without anybody ever trying to give. Like, you figure there, at that time, like, I don't know how many exits there are, but in a gymnasium, I remember when I was in high school and stuff, you had a door to get in. There wasn't really any back doors or side doors. It was like one door get in, one door get out the gym. Like,
I don't think there's a window that's going to open and wide enough for you to get out of. So yeah, it really didn't make any sense, but it was interesting. He shows up to his Shidoshi, which is his instructor's house, and he's there to visit him before he heads off to the Kumite. And he has a flashback of how he first met Mr. Tanaka, his Shidoshi. And the flashback is him and a group of other kids. They're breaking into the house. They see a sword. They're going to start stealing things. And somebody notices him there. His kid runs out, kicks Frank. The other 2 kids run off, and Frank kind of, basically says, "I wasn't going to steal nothing. I'm not here for that." Tanaka cuts his brim of his hat off with the sword, and Frank doesn't flinch. So he's like, "Oh, let's train you to be a martial artist," and basically wants him as a punching bag for his son.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the problem I've always had with this part, because Frank Dukes, I don't know what his background is, but
He's from Belgium.
Okay, so
well, Brussels. Well, I'm gonna guess it was Brussels in there. Like he's from Brussels, but I would say like I thought it was Belgium. Yeah.
Well, my thing about this flashback is so Jean-Claude Van Damme has got a French accent, and this kid, I don't know what kind of accent he was trying to do, but they kind of made him seem slow, and I always had a problem with it because I'm like, the adult version of this
you
kid
are
not
just touching.
slow.
You are
I'm
touching
not-
on everything today, bro. It is great. I cannot wait for this one.
I'm just saying I don't understand like why you would do that, but then have his adult version, not, what I'm saying? It didn't make sense to me. That's all I'm saying.
I never got that impression. I swear to you, I never got that impression. So
I
now
mean,
I'm gonna go back.
They had him talking slow, but I wouldn't say they made him seem slow. But I feel like they made him seem a little.
Yeah, it was the talking. I think maybe whoever they hired for the part just had trouble with that accent.
Oh my god!
Yeah. I mean, the accents I feel didn't match, but yeah, they definitely had him speaking kind of slow, as if he was a little dense.
So during this whole thing, we see they have a fight at school. The son is getting beat up. Frank comes in, helps him, and then the training becomes more of him actually getting training and not just being the punching bag for the kid and stuff like that. Then further down the road, we see that the son was in the army. He died in the army, and now Frank and Mr. Tanaka, they have kind of a conversation about how they're going to stop the training. Go ahead, Angel.
How did you get that he was in the army? I've watched this movie maybe 100 times. I thought he died in the Kumite.
I don't think he died in the Kumite. It looked like he was in.
Where did we get the army from?
I thought I saw because he was talking about how he left Japan the first time because of the war, and that now he lost. He feels like he's losing his. I don't know. I thought that the picture.
Where did you get the army from?
I thought the picture
I
had.
don't remember the army. I know the first family he lost with the war with the bomb.
Yeah, we're talking about. Yeah, he said he lost his first family because of the war in Japan, and he comes over to America. I thought the son died in the Kumite, like he went to a Kumite and got killed in the Kumite.
Well, maybe we don't.
Or died from some other reason. I don't know where you got. He died from being in the army. Like that is a stretch.
I thought the picture that they were looking at together while they're talking, I'm going back trying to find it, showed him in like army
clothing, it was just a headshot.
Military clothing.
It was just a headshot. And they had the swords in front burning incense.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, with the karate gi. Okay, man, maybe I made it up. Who knows?
I just know because I've always wondered that. Like that's something still to this day that I've never answered. So like I kind of want to see what you guys were gonna think. But the army, I was like, whoa, that's a stretch. Like I thought he died in the Kumite. I swear to God.
I thought maybe they were done. Like they joined together, and that's how they did. But I could be wrong. So basically, Frank wants to continue learning, but Mr. Tanaka is very upset because this is a 2,000-year tradition where it's been passed down from father to son in the Tanaka family. So it's hard for him to train somebody else. But Frank really pushes it and basically uses his own words to convince him to train him. So then we go into my favorite part, which is the training montage. And I know Angel
is like off the hook. One thing that I do want to touch on when Shidoshi Tanaka caught him grabbing the katana, or his friend grabbing the katana, the fact that like how you cut the brim off of his hat, like when I first saw that, and then you think about it now as an adult, I'm like, man, that could have went so wrong if that kid did flinch or move or what. Like no matter if they broke into your house or not, you still like you killed a kid with a Tanaka with a katana. Like,
of course. You're not wrong, man. Like, that's the craziest thing right there. Or like he doesn't know that you're gonna slice like that, and he makes a wrong move, and you accidentally like, yeah, that's a mess. Now, the Tanaka training is pretty intense. It's a lot of meditation, but then there's pulling fish out of a pond. There's he's hitting them with sticks all the time. He's blindfolded him, and he's having him fight that way. He has him set up a whole thing of tea with a blindfold on, and then he goes to hit him. So there's all these different things, and then
I think I don't know about you, but I always wanted to be. No, hold on. Let me choose my words wisely because this is where the sound bites come from. I always wanted to do the leg stretching machine.
Tied up.
The one that I'm about to, the one where he has them tied up to the tree.
I was gonna say it another way.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be tied up too.
Oh my! If G was here, he would have been sitting on that one response. But I just felt like it was always cool because I always wondered, like, did he actually do that? Like, did he actually like you know how like people do their own stunts? Like, did he do that stunt? Because we've known he was always flexible. He had great dexterity. So I always wondered if he ever actually did that. Always wondered that.
I mean, I remember thinking the same thing when I was younger, but now I'm watching it and I'm like, right before he starts trying to pull it apart, I mean, that looked like torture.
Yeah,
I mean, but
it looks crazy, intense, man. Like it looks like it could be cool, but could be very painful and go wrong really quickly.
Yeah. One thing I also did like, I think this is like one of the few karate movies that, I mean, ever since that time to now that still does it. That they showed him just doing like forms. You know how most karate movies, they don't ever really show that part, and they always show like more like the unrealistic aspect of the karate training. I thought it was always just really cool how like they showed him doing forms, they showed him doing 1 steps and 3 steps and just all his types of like everything that comes with karate at that time. I think that's why I always say, like, I think this is a good movie for kids to watch that want to get into karate because it shows you what karate can actually look like, and it's pretty close to what it is. Like, it's one of the true representations of it.
Do you guys get this when you're teaching? When you teach a form to someone, maybe for the first time, or maybe like the second or third basic form, right? Do you always get, why do we got to learn this? What is this for? Do you ever get that a lot? Yeah.
Especially, it's sometimes we get it from the parents because the parents think like, all right, well, he's been doing that form for a month now. Can we work on the next one? And there's been times that I've kind of been like, all right, let's do the next one. And when the kid gets super confused, or I feel bad for the kid, but I kind of just, look at the parent like, hey, this is why we kind of have a curriculum built the way it is, step by step,
Yeah, well, teaching forms is very frustrating, but when you get it and you do it right, like there is an aspect to it that does, refer to combat. And there are good movies such as this one, or there's a Michael Jai White movie. I always
Never
forget
Back
what
Down.
it's called.
Back Down too.
Is it Never
You know
Back
what's
Down?
crazy? You know what's crazy that you say that, Joe, because like the man actually talked with us and we went through like how that movie came about. Isn't it crazy?
We haven't done that movie yet, have we?
Never Back Down. Well, I'm waiting on that one. I just need I need him to text me back one day, and then when he texts me back, then I can figure that out.
But that part of the movie is so cool because he shows like where a form can be used in a fighting situation. I really like that.
This past weekend, this past Saturday for my adult class, actually, I do a 9 a.m. adult class, and typically in that class, I'll focus more on small details, whether it be the finer details in kumite or our finer details in kata. And we were going through Kankudai, and I said, let's work on some of the bunkai for it. And one of my students, so I could see he was a little bored doing the kata, even though it was a new kata for him, he was kind of bored doing it. Once I started breaking down the bunkai, he like immediately was like pulled into it. So I definitely think, having that partnership between not only teaching the movements, but then once the student understands the motions that need to be done, teaching them earlier how it applies versus waiting. Sometimes the instructor might wait to teach the bunkai because no, you have to know the kata great, and then y'all teach you bunkai. The bunkai just helps to enhance what that kata could be for that student and help them to breathe life into it.
Yeah, I think that does help a lot. So the next part we see, I believe we're now we're in this Japan or China, I can't remember.
It's China because of the triad.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it is because they said Hong Kong, and you're passing the invisible border where the triads run everything.
Yes, they did say.
Yeah.
So we see Frank. He's on a trolley, and this is where the next time that we see Jackson. And Jackson immediately, again, this is the Mike Gibbs part, sits down, starts trying to talk to a lady who wants nothing to do with him. And he just blows it off. He says, "Oh, yeah, what? Too handsome for you?" He's got a beer in one hand. He's got his karate gear in another, and he's just laughing and putting his leg up. He doesn't care. And Frank kind of looks at him like, "Who's this guy?" But, he just kind of blows it off. And then we see them. They get to the East China Motel and our hotel, and they're Jackson's playing a karate video game. Which do you guys know what this game is?
Yep.
Okay, so that game is my favorite game for PlayStation. It's called Karate Champ. Now, that game,
okay.
I for years was trying to find it, and I found it on PlayStation. So I put it on my brother's PlayStation and on mine. Dude, I can sit there and play that game for hours, and it only has 2 levels. That's it. It only has 2 levels. But this is how it goes. You fight in the dojo, and you win, and then you move to the All Japan Open, and you just fight there. 2 levels. That's it. But I get hyped on that game. Like, I'll sit there. I'm like, oh, like spin kick, oh, double back, watch out. Like, it's crazy. Karate Champ I love that game.
I could see that. 100%. So they kind of have their first moment during this game. They're messing with each other. Frank beats him in the game pretty easily. And then we move on to the Tanaka residence again. And there's 2 agents that are sent out after Frank. And they're trying to find him and trying to get to him before he makes it to the Kumite. Because basically their idea is the government has put all this money into Frank as a Marine, and they don't want him getting hurt or killed or basically ruining their investment. And they're not getting much help from Mrs. Tanaka as they, I mean, why are you going to bother this family? You know where he is. Why don't you just go there?
Yo, exactly.
I think it's crazy how Forrest Whitaker probably took this role thinking it was going to be like a B-rated movie. Little did he know it was probably going to like jumpstart his career also.
So something cool with Forrest Whitaker is that he is actually a black belt in Kempo karate.
I thought it was judo.
Yeah, no, I think he's black belt in Kempo, and he made this movie called something dog, Ghost Dog or whatever, Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai or something like that. And in that movie, like he helped to do a lot of the fight choreography for it too, based on his Kempo knowledge. So like we talk about like the perfect weapon and what that did with putting Kempo on the map and Eskrima, but you had little like secret agents, secret ninja, Kempo ninjas that were making their appearance in Bloodsport before.
That's funny.
Kempo ninjas.
So we at this point we meet a character. Man, I always forget this dude's name. Who's the guy that's helping him out?
The little dude. Yeah. Call him Bruce Springsteen or something like that.
Yeah, but they call.
Anyhow, he's.
Now I forget, but it was something like Bruce Springsteen, but his name is Bruce or something like that. Like Bruce Springsteen sing the lullabies.
They got a guide that's meant to help them out and make sure they know where they're going and they can get around, and if they don't, because they don't speak the language, so he can help them out. And this is one of my favorite characters. We meet the OK USA guy. I actually have a shirt somewhere.
you always say that.
I love that. OK USA, that's one of my favorite. I have a shirt somewhere, but I couldn't find it today. Otherwise I would have wore it. But
that would have been dope. You would have wore that.
I know. I couldn't. My clothes, they're just all over the place sometimes. Anyhow, so we meet him. And then this is actually another one of my favorite parts. And now I do know Mike and Gene kind of ripped on this part, and I get it. But I don't care if it happened or not. It's a cool part of the movie. Movies are meant to entertain us. And what I'm talking about is the dim mak. So
yes.
Everybody has to have an invitation to this thing. And on Frank's invitation, he has the Tanaka clan as his Sudoshi. And so, of course, he's not Asian, so they don't think he's part of Tanaka because they're used to Tanaka, being a part of the Tanaka family, being of Tanaka blood. So to prove to him that he is trained by Tanaka, they tell him to do Dimmak. Now, Dimmak is known as the Death Touch, and the Death Touch, you're supposed to be able to break a brick just by touching it, basically. And they take it one step further, and they want him to break a brick that is in a stack of bricks, and they want like 6 bricks down for him to break the bottom one. So basically, he's going to figure out how to transfer energy from his hand through the bricks all the way to the bottom brick. Yes. Does that sound real? No. But who cares? I want it to be real. I want to be entertained when I watch a movie. So entertain me. And it is entertain me. I don't care what you say. Of course he does it. He explodes the bottom brick, and everybody's impressed except for the big bad guy,
Chung
Mr.
Lee.
Bolo. Yep, Bolo himself, Chung Lee. His response is, "Nice trick. Brick doesn't hit back."
Yeah, that always is get. I don't care, man. That will always be like one of the toughest lines I've ever heard. That is just crazy.
Now, was this before or after Shoot Fighter?
This was before Street Fighter. Street Fighter came out early.
No, Shoot Fighter. Shoot Fighter.
Oh, Shoot Fighter. Oh,
before.
Because Bolo was in Shoot Fighter, as he was not a bad guy in that one.
Yeah.
No, it was before.
Yeah, it's crazy how they always have Bolo playing like the bad guy. He only got the
because
couple, movies.
He's so good at it. He doesn't say much. When he does talk, he sounds just like mean, and the guy's huge.
It's hilarious too how you see him come back in Double Impact. I think he was in Double Impact.
Double Impact.
Eye scar.
Yeah, Double Impact.
Yeah, they like to put him and Jean-Claude together a lot.
Serious.
So now the two guys who are after Frank, they're now in Hong Kong. They're talking to the inspector there, and the inspector's not being very forthcoming with them. He's trying to act like we don't have a Kumite. Frank's probably not here, but he kind of humors them and tells them, yeah, I'll keep my eyes open. And then we go and we meet. We go back to the hotel. And there's a situation with a couple of gentlemen that are part of the Kumite, and they're harassing a woman, Jenny, at this time, who's a reporter looking to cover the Kumite. But the Kumite has strict rules about no reporters. So she's really having a hard time getting anybody to do this. So, of course, these gentlemen were like, hey, come up to my room. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Which, I'm sure they have other intentions. And, of course, Frank, having to be the hero, he stops them and basically says, we can have a fight right now, or we can, have a bet and a wager, and whoever wins gets the girl. So the wager is to put a coin in Hussein's hand, because he keeps telling him his name is Hussein, and if you can close your hand before I get the coin, then you win. Now, then he's going back to his training, grabbing fish. Now, this is ridiculous.
You think that's ridiculous? You think that's ridiculous? You think that's ridiculous? Oh,
I
you're
think it's
crazy.
ridiculous, but like I said, I still like to be
This is why you need to meet Michael John White. Meet him and you'll understand it's not ridiculous. So I promise you.
Oh, no, because
Michael John White does the whole hand thing, move your hand before you do it. You're gonna tell me if I do this, you're gonna tell you can't take it before. Nah,
no, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's a little ridiculous to use that in this movie. But it's like I said from the beginning.
Well, listen,
I like to be entertained, and it's entertaining.
Well, listen, when I saw that scene, I was like, oh, this will get torn to shreds now. If this was anywhere now with the way this was being presented. And then all I thought about, I wanted to put in the group chat and be like, when he was doing that, and they were saying, we could take you up to your room and do this and that. I want to be like, you know what that sounds like? It rhymes with grape. And that's what would happen. This is exactly why you don't do that type of stuff. But I also think it was crazy how Jax right away came to defend him, or not defend him, but had his back. Already, him and Jax were locked in.
Jax likes to fight anyway. He was ready to go.
Fellas.
Yeah, Jax don't get how you said. Jax is like Mike Gibbs. Jax is I'm ready to go. Like anything you want to do, we can do it right now. It doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, Mike don't want me talking because him and I, we used to get in all kinds of trouble together. And it was a lot of fun, but I'm past those days.
This guy, the guy that plays Hussein. So I was like, I was reading something one time because, like Angel knows, I love this movie. So I'll just randomly one day just go back and be like, hey, let's find out quick facts about Bloodsport. And I guess like when they did the fight scenes, because like they for the most part got actual fighters to do all those scenes.
Yeah.
Van Damme actually ended up knocking him out, I think, by accident. Like in the scene, misplaced the kick or whatever, ended up knocking him out on the scene.
That's great.
Crazy. But he's everything for the shot, right? Like it's like who's this?
Creed.
Dude? Creed.
Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. I was like, nah, but really hit me though.
That's crazy. Yeah. Don't hit me for real. The next part we got Frank Dukes is in his room meditating on a chair in the splits. Now,
dude, I don't care, man. That's always been like I will do that till the day I die. That is just an iconic scene. Sam has a picture of him doing that almost everywhere. Since he was like 6, he just go anywhere and drop a split. Like that's all he did. It's just what.
Did you do it on the chair?
I used to do it. My parents have it on the chair, but also I did it on the counter. So like the corner of our counter.
Oh wow, that's
like
crazy.
Spread there.
So my brother and I could do it on the chair. I think we got pictures somewhere of it. I'll have to find those pictures and I'll post them. But yeah.
There's a picture. I did it a couple years ago when I did it across the train tracks. Because there's a picture of Van Damme doing it on some railroad tracks. So like we were in the woods somewhere, and I was like, "Oh, I can get that picture now, finally."
It's so crazy, and I'm sure Gene would be tearing us up about that. But I don't care.
Oh, Gene would be like, "You went to the woods just to take a picture? What would you? Why would you do that?
Like, you went to the woods to spread your legs. What are you doing, brother?" Like,
you know what? We're kids at the time, so it's okay. We can get away with it. So we go into the first the tournament. They're kind of giving us the what this tournament's all about and everything like that, and how it came about, and the background, and then we're going to get the first fights. Now, I do have to say, I went back and listened just real quick to Gene and Mike, and Gene said that the center judge in here looks like Bernard Frost. Do you guys know who he is?
Oh, leave B Frost alone, man.
I know, right?
Leave
That's
B
what
Frost
I said.
alone. He ain't even bothering nobody. Leave B Frost alone. Come on now.
Mike said the same thing. Mike said the same thing to Gene, but Gene got Bernard, and I don't know. I'd like Gene to explain that because
I can see it. I'll tell you what though. I kind of like that referee. He was decked out in silk, looked nice.
Oh, yeah.
He was. You know what? You know what I liked about him? He was like real, like tough. Like he didn't, unless you got knocked out cold, he was like, get up. He didn't care if you were bleeding. He said, you're gonna take this.
Well, I mean, this is the
rules
of the Kumite, though, man. I mean, this is how the Kumite. This is full contact.
The only thing I don't like about the Kumite, this is my only issue with the Kumite. I don't like how if you get thrown off the board, off the pathway, you're automatically like done, like finished. Because realistically, you could have kicked me off of it, but what if I wasn't knocked out and I was still able to go?
True. But that's the rules, man. That's part of the thing. So there are 3 ways to win. You win by a knockout, you win by knocking someone off of the ring, and you win by getting them to give up, say, a mate, which is, they kind of explain as like saying uncle. Yeah.
Uncle. Call me daddy.
Basically, that's the way that, if you get someone to do that, it really would demoralize somebody.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to give you a full synopsis of every fight, just some of the important ones. But we go into the fights and they're right out the bat. There's blood here. There's kicking and punching. There's lots of things going on, and they're pretty quick fights. I can't imagine you're going to be fighting for 5 minutes. Bare knuckle, just busting people's faces open. So none of these fights really go past a few, 3-4 minutes really until the end. And then we see Jackson. He's the second fight, and he takes a little bit of damage at first, and then he sees his own blood. He just grabs the guy by the hair and just plows right through him. It was crazy.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I thought it was cool how when they started seeing all the blood and they like kind of brought. I always like when movies bring it back to the title and they're like, that's why we call this Bloodsport. Like, I just think that was cool. But one of my favorite fighters, and he was actually a real like huge big time champion and like a huge innovator in Thailand, was Paco. Paco was the Muay Thai fighter.
Okay.
Paco is like in like the Lumpini Stadium, which is like the best place to do Muay Thai in all of Taiwan. Like, he's in the Hall of Fame. He's known as like an innovator for Muay Thai in Taiwan. I just love watching Paco's fights because they were so simple. And at that time, there was a huge debate on what was better, Muay Thai or karate. So I think it was cool to kind of get him in there. And him and Van Damme actually did like, I think Van Damme trained under him for kickboxer and like actually learned Muay Thai through him. He was
in Kickboxer too.
Who was he in Kickboxer?
I forgot the guy. You know how like because Michael, what's that dude that you met also? Michael Kissy, whatever.
Oh yeah, Michael Kissy. Yeah,
and he played Tung Po in Kickboxer.
They all look different
in all of the movies, but like you won't recognize him because they look so different, you know.
And he did Lionheart. Because he was the last guy.
Too, yeah.
Yeah.
Which by like, you know, you figure when we talk about like Bloodsport, Lionheart, Kickboxer, The Quest, they're all basically like the same movie, just in different parts of the world. Same movie over. Like they legit.
And you know what's crazy?
We found something that works. Let's just keep doing it.
And you know what's crazy? For The Quest, Michael Kissy was the last guy he fought from Cambodia or whatever it was.
What? Oh man.
Like that guy Tong Po has been in every Van Damme movie. But no, I really liked, man. Paco to me was like probably my favorite person to watch outside of like Chung Lee and Van Damme, because his fights were just so like he systematically breaks them down, leg kicks, knees, elbows. Like, he was just real nice with it. I like this fight.
But it's nice because it makes it look more real that way.
Yeah, it looked like he was actually hitting.
Might have been.
It looked like he was actually like hitting Van Damme and hitting everyone. Like that guy Paco, it looks like he didn't know like what stunt acting was. Like he's like, oh, I'm actually here to like mess you up.
How about the scene? So the scene when Paco and Van Damme are facing each other, right? They face off, and he just has his arms up, and they're going like kick for kick to the ribs, and Van Damme's just like, "Come on again, come on again!" Like insane.
That was one of the. I like that scene a lot. I really do. Yeah. So we see Chung Lee for the first time, and everyone's kind of explaining to Frank who Chung Lee is. He's the current champ. You know, he's killed someone before. You know, he's got all kinds of records. Chung Lee goes out. He fights a guy, knocks him out real quick. He breaks his own record of fastest knockout. Then we see Frank come up, and he fights Hussein, who, of course, why not? Because you already had a problem with this dude. And Hussein's talking junk, and Van Damme knocks him out real quick and breaks Chung Lee's record by 2 seconds. So already everyone's kind of like, oh, who's this Frank Dukes guy? And he goes out and does that.
Respect to him for fighting in his gi. He looked nice with his gi on. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know what? He fought about 5 fights with that gi on.
Yeah, until he fought the sumo wrestler.
Yeah, and then he had to take it off. He was like, okay.
Yeah.
I see
you could tell that was an old school heavyweight gi too.
Yeah,
that thing stood up on his chest like that thing had all creases in it. It was heavyweight.
So after this, we get a fighting montage with some music, and we just seeing kind of the elimination fights at this point. And then day one of the fights are over, and we see the inspector. He comes and talks to Frank's buddies and tells them the hotel he's staying at. And they come in with tasers. And they're basically telling Frank, listen, you're going back with us one way or another. And Jackson tackles them, and Frank takes off, and they run after him, and they end up in the water. And Frank ends up on a date, of course, with Jenny.
I'm going to tell you right now, man. I don't think you could pay me enough to get in that water in Hong Kong.
Why is that?
It looked dirty.
Yeah.
It looked black. And I'm sorry. Let me just say this. The water didn't improve from The Last Dragon from Enter the Dragon to Bloodsport. Because in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, we saw that river. And it was the same river in Bloodsport, and it did not look like it got any better over the years. I don't think you could pay me enough with that one.
So now we're back at the Kumite, day 2. and they're showing the fights, and they're doing kind of more of another fighting montage, because the movie would be forever long if we did all 3 days of fights. And mostly they're showing they'll show a Jackson fight, they'll show a Chong Li fight, and they'll show a Frank Dukes, and then just a couple of random fights. But they're kind of, you can tell they're focusing more on our 3 main characters, and everything like that. And then Jenny shows up with the gentleman who is kind of handling all the bets. Yeah. And she's done kind of finagled her way in undercover with this gentleman. And she's watching these fights, and she's taking notes with her little tape recorder. And she's not liking what she's seeing. She's very worried for Frank. She's a little upset. She's kind of, cringing and holding back. And I mean, he warned her, like, this is what you're going to see. This is what this is about. And she's really freaked out by it. And you can tell, like, this isn't going to go well at the end of all this. We do get a fight where Frank fights a sumo wrestler. And this is, like we said, he took off his gi for the first time. And the way he ends this fight, he goes Johnny Cage on my man. Right down the splits, right in the nutsack, and pushes my man down, and that's how he ends that fight.
That's crazy. They were fighting with those old Texas rules, so we got you.
Now, this next fight scene gets me every time, because I'm like, I don't know how real this is. I know Gene and Mike, maybe you guys know this. They were kind of wondering if Jackson was an actual real person, or if he was made up for the movie. Do you guys know that at all?
Wait, stop. Are you're saying like, what do you mean? Because now I'm about to say something, because Jeff is going to kill this whole entire show with what you're about to say next. So what do you mean?
Is Ray Jackson a real person that was in Frank Dukes' life, or was he made up for the movie?
Bro, Frank Dukes is made up.
It says it's based on a true story.
See, now you're about to get Jeff Dawes.
We all want entertainment, but I know that the Frank Dukes story is fake of the Bloodsport.
Yes.
Okay, so did they just change the name, or is there nobody?
No, it's all like Frank Dukes made all this up. It's not even real.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Oh no!
Oh, bro, here goes now. Jeff Dawson's gonna start going nuts. He's gonna be, how do you not? You guys should have known
that. I don't care. I don't look everything up. I'm not Joepedia. It's Jeffopedia. So he can come at me all he wants. I don't care. I review movies. I don't look up information. Come at me, bro.
Yeah, it's so like Frank Dukes is like, he's known as being like they say it in like America. He's like known as like America's like fakest martial artist.
So they because at the end of this movie,
fabricated this whole. I know. It says that they said that he went like 356-0, never lost a fight, fastest knockout, strongest punch, fastest punch, and fastest kick, and all these things. It was all fake.
Did he make money off of all this too?
He made so much money. He had books. He had schools.
It was his not his screenplay, but he helped write the screenplay because he told all these stories to the guy who ended up writing it. The guy was like, all these stories are BS, but this one sounds really cool. I think we could do something with it. There was born Bloodsport.
So is he on an island somewhere hiding out from people? What the hell?
Bro, it's crazy. Like Frank Dukes is known as like the most like fakest martial artist to ever be in America. It's nuts.
Well, I'm glad you told me because I had no idea.
You would have been in these streets talking about Frank Dukes saying, man, he's like my favorite martial artist, and everyone would have said, you're not a real black belt, I guess.
I just left the movie. I never said anything about Frank Dukes. I mean, all I would have had to do was Google it, and I probably would have found it. Yeah. So Jackson, he ends up, he has to fight Chong Li. And why does Jackson go out here? I mean, he's gets the upper hand, and then he starts like whooping and hollering like he just won the lottery. And I mean, like, finish him off, man, or at least try.
I used to get so upset at that part because I'm like, the rules. There's only 3 ways to win. You didn't accomplish any of them yet, but you think you won.
Oh. I mean, the way he got him and kind of surprised him, he could have thrown him off the ring and won.
Exactly. Like he could
He
have
wouldn't
ended
even
it
had to
so
knock him out.
quickly.
It was just a mess. So anyhow, so that Chung Lee catches himself. He gets back to his feet and he beats the crap out of Ray, stomps on his head, and Frank's pissed. He's upset. He's ready to fight Chung Lee right there, but everyone stops him, and so he doesn't get disqualified because he's doing this all for his Shidoshi. He's doing this to honor Mr. Tanaka, his Shidoshi. So he doesn't want to ruin that.
I think we should preface that his Shidoshi won the Kumite at one point in the past as well.
When are you guys getting this info?
Yes, sir.
He had the sword.
You have to, that's where he got the sword from, was winning the Kumite.
I thought it was just a sword.
No, that's what he was saying. He's like, you can't.
He said to him, "You have to earn this." Oh my Lord,
I swear to you, I've watched this so many times, and you guys are having more facts than I've ever known. Oh,
you got to watch it again, bro. So Frank shows up for day 3, and he's running a little late. And his buddies show up. They got the inspector with them. The inspector brings like 5 guys with them, and they don't even have guns. I mean, I get it; they're supposed to take them alive, but they should at least have a club or something. So Frank kind of
when they're in the alley, not in the alley, in the
the alley,
tunnel looking things. Yeah.
So he's putting people over here and moving people, and then he blocks the taser with a trash can lid, and basically tells them, "Okay, you win. I'll see you on the plane afterwards." The only reason they found out where the place was even is because Jenny went and told them. Little snitch. Come on, man.
And this is after they had their wonderful evening together.
Yeah, but that's the thing, man. And he shouldn't have laid it down so good because now she wants to keep him around.
Exactly, man. You know the rules, bro. Only half.
Yes, only half. So now they're at the Kumite and they gotta, they're gonna watch the final rounds, and we have a couple of, these are the top 4 now, so we're getting some really good fights. Frank wins his fight. Chung Lee wins his fight, and of course, like we already knew, it's going to be Chung Lee and Frank Dukes in the final. Now, for the finals, the stage is prepared.
The platform is raised.
So both sides of the platform is raised, and it comes down in like a V. So I guess it gives, a different aspect to the fight. It makes it more difficult. I'm not really sure.
It makes them stay in the center. Makes them stay in the center and have to fight it out.
And so for this fight, we see both sides getting prepared. Now, Chung Lee's corner, they're putting on this and that. He's wearing Jackson's do-rag around his ankle or his leg to taunt Frank. And his trainer puts it must have been like an aspirin or a pill.
I thought it was a pepper bomb.
No, it was just it was something he had to crush.
That little white
bro,
pill.
it's a pepper bomb.
Oh, it's like
you gotta crush it.
It's like the 3 ninjas. Like when they have like the pepper bombs and they throw it and your eyes would like flare.
But it was really small.
It was, but all he had to do was a pepper bomb. Boom, you throw it in your face. Okay. His eyes were burning. He couldn't because he was blind. If you saw it when it went through his eyes, it blinded him. He couldn't see.
Yeah.
You just throw sand in my face. I'm not gonna say I can't see anything. Sand is just sand. You know what I mean? Like it was like a blinding agent.
Whatever it is they put in it, it was meant to, if he starts to struggle, to use to gain an advantage. So we're watching the whole fight, and I mean, from the beginning, it's very obvious Frank is the better fighter because he knows exactly what he's going to do. You know what? One part I forgot about because it's kind of important. Chung Lee, the last fighter he fights before Frank, he kills him. The guy wasn't necessarily getting the best of him, but he took him farther than he wanted, so he kills him. The judges stand up, they turn their backs. The whole stadium, they stand up, including Frank. Everybody turns their back, and Chung Lee's kind of like, whatever. This is the second person that we know of that he's killed in the ring, so it's very disrespectful. It's unnecessary, but for whatever reason, you don't get arrested for it.
I'm going to be honest with you.
He walks over to Van Damme and tells him, "You are next."
Yes.
I'm gonna
It's
be honest
pretty
with you.
intimidating.
One of the dudes that he fought in that montage, Chung Lee did a step through side kick and kicked him off the platform. I thought he killed that guy with that kick because
He
that looked
might
like
have.
that kick would have broke his whole chest. God
So
damn.
he might have done something. So moving on to the fight, it literally right off the bat, Frank is the better fighter. He's just having his way with Chung Lee for the most part, and then so it does force Chung Lee to take his the secret weapon out and throw it in Frank's eyes, and now Frank is blind. Now this part of the movie, I get they're trying to be dramatic, but this whole screaming and the variations of him going and everything was just very very dramatic.
Okay,
But
you say that. Let someone throw some pepper bomb in your eyes, and we'll see how you feel.
This
yeah,
whole
I
scene
guess
though, I thought it was the coolest scene ever. Like on a personal level, I used to reenact this in the shower by myself. My mom would be my dad about banging on the door. Hurry up! What are you doing? I'm reenacting ninja scenes between this
I
scene
love it.
and what was it? Pray for Death when he's like throwing the water on himself and he breaks the pearl necklace in half. Both those scenes react them in the shower.
So he's going back and kind of looking back on his training because he did train for blind fighting. I mean, he literally trained for this scenario. And once he gets his things together and he starts to meditate and he kind of realizes where he's at, he stands back up and he's ready to fight again. Now, the first thing Chong Li does, because throwing something in his eyes isn't enough, is he grabs the ref and throws the ref for
Damn, not B
Frank to
Frost.
be.
Not
I
him.
know, right?
No, not B
Poor,
Frost.
poor B Frost. But Frank's too smart for that, so he takes the ref and he realizes the ref. He pulls him back and gets him into a safe area. And then, like I said, he knows his training. Chong Li's trying to creep up on him, and he can't do it. He can't do nothing.
Can we just talk about how Frank Dukes threw like 7 helicopter kicks in a row and Chung Lee didn't block not one of them?
Not one.
Not one. He blocked. He threw 7 helicopter kicks in a row.
He stood there admiring them.
Yes. Like
Just
crazy.
No, I don't think 7 would even be necessary. I think 1, maybe 2 of those would have knocked him out.
Like it was nuts. Like he just kept hitting them from every angle with each leg. It was just getting out of hand.
And that kick, that was like the Van Damme kick. He threw that kick in every movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every movie it makes an appearance.
I'll tell you what, the best Van Damme helicopter kick, in my opinion, will always be when he broke the dad's leg in No Retreat, No Surrender. And he did it in a white suit. Like that to me will forever. It's funny because we talk about how like Van Damme has such an influence. When I went to prom, I went in a white suit just so I could be like Van Damme from No Retreat, No Surrender. Like that was all I talked about the whole for like I think like 2 years before. And you know what gave me that idea? When my brother was looking at tuxedos for his marriage, I looked and I said, I'm gonna get a white suit just because I'm gonna go to my prom in a white suit like Van Damme. Like that to me was like the dopest thing in the world. So yeah, that was like the Van Damme kicker. That's all anyone knew about.
That's nice. So after all the helicopter kicks, Chong Li's on the ground. Frank grabs him, basically threatens to break his neck, tells him to quit. Takes a few minutes, but he does eventually say Mate. And Frank Dukes is the champ. He gets the sword. He's congratulated. They say he fought real honorably and everything. And he takes Jackson's headband back. And I mean that's pretty much the movie.
Yeah,
I mean we see him go back to the hospital. He gives Jackson his headband. They embrace each other and all that stuff. And then he gets back on the plane. He's messing with those guys, and he bows to his girlfriend or whatever she was, and that's how we end the movie. I think we could have done without that part of the movie. It was unnecessary, but whatever.
Of course.
I mean, I like that they brought it back to Jackson at least. But
yeah, me too.
Girlfriend. At least we know Jackson's alive and he was good, whatever. And then the whole girlfriend part, because even though she brought the love interest of the story, but it wasn't like she played any really big roles, you know. At one point, she
not really
got in because she acted as if she was the girlfriend of the guy making the bets and stuff, you know.
Now, for
So
everybody that's gonna wonder, we will not do the rest of the blood sports because they are not worth it. So we will only
no,
do.
they're not.
No,
This
no.
is the only one we are doing. So this is it. All the other blood sports, it got very far away from what blood sport actually is.
Mm-hmm.
So
But sorry.
we like to do we like to grade them, and I'll let Sam start with his grade. Let's see if it's the same as Angel's.
A plus. I don't care how cheesy it is. It's an A plus.
Yeah, you guys are brothers, so I get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an
A.
A. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt. It's an A plus. Like this is it will always. But I think for my reason, like what I was saying before, was like it's an A plus, right? Does everything in the movie make sense, match up? You know, for that time, this movie was so advanced, and it was a great movie. Now, yeah, of course, the way we see movies now, it probably wouldn't stack up to some of the ones we've watched that are really good, right? But I always say this: this will forever be an A plus, kind of like how Mortal Kombat and some of the other ones are for me, because they're just staples in martial arts. Like it is like a staple. Like you look at George St. Pierre, you look at everyone from like your generation, like with you guys of like karate. Like Van Damme was what got you into it, and it's like in some ways, like yeah, the movie you could find reasons to hate on it, but like it is a staple in the martial arts community. You got to give it its respect. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, Van Damme, whether he likes it or not, will always be known as Bloodsport. Like that will be his true like calling card. Like he'll always be known for that role in that movie.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, man. I mean, I remember this is probably one of the first real big karate movies I ever watched. It was actually one of my karate buddies, one of my good friends from karate, picked this movie out because I'd never seen it. I'd never heard of it. And we watched it with my family. He was staying the night. And I've just been watching it ever since. Like I watched this movie so many times. Like I don't even need to watch it or rewatch it. I could do the whole movie. Like I know the whole thing.
Me too.
And there's so many one-liners from this movie. So yeah, I'm right there with you guys. A plus for me. I love this movie. I don't care about the is it cool for now factor. I don't care about none of that. Like I always watch this movie, and my wife makes fun of me for it. I don't care. I love it.
It's the truth. And it started off that whole era. Like you had the movies that started the ninja craze, and I feel like this really kicked off like the whole karate phase, you know?
Yep.
And think of like, and when we talk again, like they want to say, oh, the acting wasn't great or it was cheesy parts. You have other martial arts movies. You look at like a Rocky, and I know that's been a topic of contention.
Rocky, I keep saying this
movie or not, but
God,
you look at what Rocky did, that it was done on such a low budget. Some of the acting could have been a little whatever, but it's a classic, and then it spawned off of spawned off generations now of like popular boxing movies based off of it. Unlike Bloodsport, the sequels.
And the other thing you're going to have is you're going to have these generations, because we talked about it just with Star Wars. People are going to say the old Star Wars is better than the new, and vice versa. We can fight that all day. You're going to do the same thing with Rocky and Creed. Which is better? Is it Rocky? Is it Creed? Nowadays, people are probably going to say Creed. Back in my day, I'm saying Rocky. I like them all, okay? But we can have this debate all the time. I'm going to watch Bloodsport a million more times. I don't care. I'm going to show my kids Bloodsport when they're old enough. Yep. I don't care. That's just how it goes, and I love it. And I don't care what people want to think about it. I was thinking, I think it was already brought up, and I think it would be a good one to do next week, would be the Last Dragon.
Let's go.
Dude. Last Dragon.
I'll probably bring him back on just because he's gonna
I have a Last Dragon shirt too.
Hey, you know what? He has a Last Dragon shirt. Let's see if we can get Jeff on also, man. I know Jeff is gonna go nuts for the amount of people that we don't name, because the Last Dragon actually. I'm just gonna give the viewers this. Supposedly, my brother's first instructor was in the Last Dragon.
Perfect.
Supposedly.
That's right. Yes,
so,
sir. Yes, sir.
There are people, and I know people like in the karate world that have, worked on the Last Dragon.
That say they influenced the moves of Ernie Reyes Jr.
Yeah, they
remember that.
Ernie Reyes Jr. and
Perfect.
Back and everyone. So we're gonna do that. Last Dragon.
All right, we're gonna have to wrap this up. You guys got anything before we gotta go?
No, just thank you for having me on. This was fun. Bloodsport's a classic.
Oh, of course.
So
definitely. I really enjoyed this. This was fun. I wish Gene could have made it, but We make
That's
it work.
fine. I think the Last Dragon will be perfect for Gene to get on with Jeff.
100%.
Yes.
All right, you know what? Director, play our music. Let's go.
Disaster must come. At best, only postponed. Shaolin Kung Fu, to survive, must now be taught to more young men.